And we are live. This is Travis from Carter Cow Capital, expert advisor reviews on YouTube, Carter Cow Trading, obviously on Facebook. Hopefully, everybody's doing very well today. This is episode 311 of Trade with Travis. This is the Wednesday episode. And I think I finally kind of figured out a schedule that will end up working out for me and hopefully end up working out for y'all as we go through and kind of go through this fourth quarter push. We're going to end up doing this on Mondays and Wednesdays right around this time, 9 o'clock, and we end up going from 9 o'clock to about 9:30 at the minimum, and then after that, depending on how the engagement and everything else ends up going, we go and kind of max it out from there. But we gotta get through the disclaimer first, and then after that, we'll talk about everything else. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from the education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Now, understand that trading involves risk and involves. So, with that being said, as we go through, take a look at the charts and get everything else situated. And if there's going to end up being anybody in here, I want to make sure I end up saying, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and show myself on to the screen." Hopefully, everybody's doing very well. It's been a while since I've been able to have a little bit of time to be able to do all this stuff and kind of go back live and kind of go from there, kind of figuring out what my schedule is going to end up being. But happy to see that we end up having pretty good engagement, even for missed amount of time that we end up having over the course of the last couple months. So hopefully everybody end up having a very good trading day. I know for me, we're at 30 straight green days, being able to take a look at being able to do that from an automated system. So uh, haven't been doing as many manual trades, but there is a trade that we end up talking about inside of this session on Monday that I was particularly ready to be able to take a look at and be able to talk about today. And that was US yen. So we'll start off with US yen as our feature trade that we're going to end up talking about today. Obviously, we'll take a look at the big three and everything else, but we are going to focus in on what ended up happening with US yen based off of the news. So based off of economic calendar, let's talk about what's happening today or what has happened today and what's going on tomorrow. Remember, we have non-farm payroll on Friday. Just keep that in mind. Typically, the day before non-farm payroll, obviously Thursday, the market's going to end up being slow. So don't expect that you're going to end up getting a great amount of moves that may end up happening for just tomorrow. There may end up being a move that may end up happening, but the market may give it all back when it comes down to movement. We have trade balance that's going to end up happening a little bit later on today, or matter of fact, it's already done came out. It's a high impact news, but it's not necessarily one of those things that truly affect the market. Going into tomorrow, we have medium news, but we do not have any high impact news. And then obviously going into Friday, we have non-farm payroll. We end up having employment based off of what's happening with the Canadian dollar, and that'll be about it going into the rest of this week. Now, remember the JOLTS job report actually ended up coming out last on Tuesday or Wednesday. I want to say Tuesday because that's when the market actually ended up making a move, which was higher than expected. There was a higher job rate, which makes sense because obviously you're taking a look at what's happening from that. It's basically taking a look at what ended up happening based off of not October, but August information. I mean September information. So um, obviously there was more jobs that were being placed in because of schools and everything else like that. Had a pretty good report when it came down to that. All right. Now, as we go through, we're going to take a look at the big three. If you're not familiar with the big three is the United States dollar index. We end up taking a look at oil. We'll take a look at gold. The reason why we take a look at those is because they correlate so much with our primary pairs that we end up taking a look at US yen, Euro, United States dollar, a few of those pairs, and everything else. So going into gold, we'll start off with that one. Um, we can see that gold from a daily perspective had a resistance right around 2070, had a support, a long-term support at 1680. Since then, the market was inside of this channel. After it ended up breaking past the channel and breaking outside of the consolidation, the market ended up having a very big move to the downside. We can see based off the vortex that the market was going to fall all the way down to right around 1820. The last time that we ended up talking, I ended up saying that I will be interested in being able to see what happened with the market for us being able to sell. But I did expect that the market was going to end up having a little bit of bounce back right around 1820 because you take a look at previously going to the left, you can see that the market ended up making that same movement to the left when it came down the movement from there. So wasn't surprised that the market ended up making that move to the downside. I mean, making that move, kind of bouncing right back up. This was a expected position, so it was good to be able to see that the market kind of respected this overall area and started being able to make a bounce. So we're in a retracement phase. The market ended up moving down about 7 to 11 days to the downside. I do expect that we're probably going to end up having about 7 to 11 days of upside movement. And then after that, once that happens, we have a breakout. Typically, you end up having a retest and you can be able to trade it down again from there. So just waiting on that move. We'll see how everything kind of plays out from there. But I do like what I end up seeing. Not interested in being able to jump in right now, even if that's from a trending position. If you're a person that is you're a person that's a scalper looking at being able to get in, you can make a case for being able to make this move. I think that we're still kind of on an accumulation phase. We can see that from a 2 hour phase. I mean, from a 2 hour position, we have a very tight squeeze. So if you are looking at being able to buy, my thought process on that would be we see that our resistance is we see our resistance is 1830. Anything above 1830, I'd be interested in being able to pop in for a move to the upside, for us being able to scalp. I do like what I see with the squeeze. The thing is that we don't have a squeeze on the daily, so it's not like we're getting both of those to be able to fire at the same time. We just have a squeeze on the 2 hour and just trying to see if the market's going to end up popping based off of that. But I do expect something like this: breakout, a little bit of a retest, and then after that, move back up. At the latest, 1870 will probably end up being the best position to be able to get out. So you're talking about right around 40 points of overall movement if you can be able to catch it, with a stop loss being just below 1810. So you're talking about 20 for 40. So 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. If you end up taking a look at a trade like that, obviously I'm kind of speculating at this point, but it will be something to the equivalent of here to here that I'll look at for us to trade. Okay, so one to 2.4 based off of that. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening with the United States dollar index. United States dollar index. We take a look at that from a overall movement standpoint. Um, we can see that we talked about this market giving us a counter trend line break to the upside. Bam, it gave us that move to the upside. Um, and currently, right now, we are almost about to finish the vortex area as a whole, which was at 13,250. Remember, I ended up talking about this almost 3.5 weeks ago, where we could see that this market was in a strong consolidation for a very long time, just for days. And we finally ended up having a breakout to the upside for the people that were patient and for the people that actually ended up making that pending order, end up catching that move solidly. I had a breakout, had a little bit of a retest. We're going through our third phase of Fibonacci's where the D extension ended up hitting previously at 13,159, and we're starting to be able to have a little bit of a U-turn right now. That morning star candlestick, I seen that we end up having that. Remember, typically the day after the 3 bar candlestick like that ends up showing up, you want to see a retracement or a retest of that overall candlestick movement. That's exactly what's happening right now. I wouldn't be interested in being able to make a move in any direction at this particular point because we just don't know what's going to end up happening. We know that long term the trend is going to end up being bullish. We know short term right now the market is a little bit bearish, and on a weekly standpoint, the market is, I believe, still bearish at this particular point. I'm sorry, bullish at this point. Um, so that means that we're trading in opposite directions on all 3 charts. If we're trading in all directions, opposite directions on all 3 charts, then there's no trade to be able to take. Okay, so United States dollar index staying away. Um, gold. Oh, we gotta look at gold. Oil. Oil. Take a look at West Texas Intermediate. Um, I think what we looked at before was that we wanted to see this market start to sell off and wanted to be able to get a counter trend line break. We end up getting both of those things to be able to happen. And currently, right now, it's happening at this point, the way that we kind of seen it kind of play out. So I do like what I see from a weekly standpoint. This is what's happening from a daily standpoint. We said that we wanted to see that this market would end up breaking past this overall counter trend line break, and then after that, retesting this overall move. That's exactly what's happening right now. We have a breakout. Currently we don't have a retest. Currently, we don't have a. Give me a second. Currently, we don't have a retest at this particular point, but we may end up seeing some move like this, a little bit of a retest toward the backside of this overall trend line, and then after that, making a move to the downside. If you're interested in being able to jump in now and just say, "Hey, I'm okay with the risk. I just have a higher stop loss," then the conservative person in me would say, "Put your stop loss above the swing high." The aggressive person in me would end up saying, "Put your stop loss above the overall consolidation point." I mean, not the consolidation point, but above the point of control, which will end up being somewhere around there. So conservative stop loss will be above the swing high. Um, Obviously, if you can be able to withstand that overall move and kind of give it a little bit of push when it comes down to that. Aggressive, I would say just above that swing high, right around 90, 60, and kind of go from there. That's too many points, to be honest, if I'm looking at being able to say what's happening. So I will wait for the retracement first. And then after that, once we get the retracement, then after that, we can make our move. Everybody give me one quick second. Okay. Um, so just waiting on a move right now. I would love to be able to see a retest before jumping in. So I'm going to be patient, just kind of wait. The market gets away from us, then it gets away from us. Nothing we can be able to do about it when it comes down to that move. So we're done with that. Now, trade that we end up talking about, the feature trade that we end up saying on Monday for the trade being able to get in was US yen. Now, I'm going to explain why I end up saying US yen. I'm going to explain why, obviously, you should be in profit right now when it comes down to movements and everything else. We take a look at it from a daily perspective. We end up seeing this one thing in particular. Going back into last year, right around this time, October 19th, the market ended up hitting a high of right around 150 points. And then once that ended up happening, the market ended up having a strong push to the downside. So there's a lot of resistance in that spot. And this is the last time that the market, well, this is the first time that the market has went up to that point or higher to be able to test it. And as soon as it ended up getting to that point, the market ended up rejecting hard. From that position, it actually ended up moving about, I want to say, right around 500 points in the first few minutes. That was because of the jokes news. Um, went from here to here, 283 pips for the move to the downside. And then after that, obviously, we had a little bit of a retest. From that retest, that's when you should have looked at being able to get in. And we can see that the market is actually falling. Now, how did we know that the market was going to fall? There was a couple things that was kind of dead giveaways. The first one was that the market was hitting resistance, and that market price had to be retested. That's the first one. The second one is if you end up taking a look at these black lines, obviously we end up having a channel um, that was or a rising wedge, and typically in a rising wedge, you will typically end up seeing that the market will end up having a move to the downside. Now, it's not like a 100% chance that it's going to happen every time, but typically what you end up seeing is a move to the downside. I think I end up kind of equating it to being able to get on a roller coaster. And once you end up getting to the highest point, a portion of the roller coaster, you hear that last click before the market ends up falling. That's exactly what ends up happening right here. You got that last click towards this green candlestick right here. Then after that, market ended up falling, retraced just a little bit as your retest, and currently right now it's falling again. So that'll be one of those trades that I'll be definitely interested in being able to get into more off of this one. The question is, are we going to get value? Now, the value would come with a little bit of a retracement. And if we're going to try to get it based off a little bit of a retracement, then that means that you need to go ahead and jump into it right now and try to go after it. But there we go with that US yen. If you're looking at being able to sell, you got a sellable opportunity. Just wait for the 2 hour and then after that, get in from there. Australian dollar, United States dollar. We end up talking about this one very briefly as well. We end up saying that we expected that the market was going to end up having a little bit of a retest before being able to make a move. The market ended up having this had this fall back to 62.70. Then after that, the market has blew through the overall resistance, the past resistance, turned future support, and from there, I think that the market will end up having a little bit of a retracement and then pushing back up to the upside, back into the midpoint area. Um, Obviously, we don't know that yet, but that's what I'm expecting based off of the way that it looks. Now, let's go through US 30. Let's go through Nas 100. And we'll do a little bit of Bitcoin, and then after that, we get out of here if there's not any comments or anything else like that. From a daily perspective, we can see that the market ended up pushing all the way up to a high back in July. Um, had a tighter consolidation fail, a area where the market was showing signs of making a channel, and then after that, ended up having a break. So we end up having this right here. Yeah, it ended up being something like that to the equivalent. Market broke down to the downside. Anytime that you end up having a breakout, you end up having a retest. The market fell through this high volume node, which means that I expect that the market at least will probably end up getting up to 33,450 before being able to make a move anywhere else. So somewhere around here, move back up to the upside, have a counter trend line break, and then after that, take the sale from there. That's what I'm. That's what I expect is going to end up happening. We can even say probably the backside of this consolidation. So 33,650. It'll be 33,650 to 33,650 to 33,540 is the range where I think the market will end up having a sweet spot for us being able to resell. Got a little bit of a yawn. Jeez. We're looking at somewhere around there. Typing a while, yes, if that makes sense. For its position where I think the market's going to end up going. I think it's going to end up going up first and after that down. Speaking of down, I think that the down EA ended up catching all that move from US from Euro United States dollar and Australian United States dollar earlier today, and it's on a 30-day win streak, which is awesome. This passive income just going right, left and right without even having to be able to think about it. Um, so I'm excited about this move because this move tells me that there's going to be some more. With this retracement, it tells me that there's going to be further downslide. I'm sorry, further up. Yeah, further downslide for the United States dollar at some point. Um, let's go US 30. Let's see, US 30. Take a look at capital.com. Hold on, what that? Oh, I was just looking at US 30. Let's take a look at NAS. Okay, NAS 100 weekly perspective. We can see that this market is showing signs of rejecting and going back inside of this vortex area right here, from 14,629 all the way to 13,413 or 13,420. Um, that'll be a massive drop if that market ends up making that movement to the downside. But we're inside of that consolidation area, and remember, when the market ends up breaking that consolidation area, if it can close below, then it's going to go all the way down to the bottom. It's not going to hesitate when it comes down to that movement. From a daily perspective, we can be able to see that the market is showing signs of staying above or basically kind of matching up with the previous resistance, 15,150. Somewhere around that area, we can see that the market is kind of showing signs of being able to go into a consolidation pattern. I think mainly most of that is because of what's going to happen with the news a little bit later on, and being able to see what the actual direction is going to end up being based off of what Jerome Powell ends up saying. But that'd be something to be able to pay attention to. Um, let's see. I think we're pretty much it. I think we done covered everything. I know typically we end up going 30 minutes, but my question to y'all is, what questions do y'all have for me? Is there a pair that y'all like for me to be able to take a look at? Excuse me. All right, cool. We'll take a look at Bitcoin last. Then after that, we get out of here. Spell correct. All right, Bitcoin from a. Hold on, this is not my chart. I had a better chart than that. Let's see. Let's Coinbase. Was it Binance? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so let's go through this. Major consolidation was from 65,000 all the way down to 30, basically 31.8. The market broke down, went inside of consolidation. Broke down, went inside of consolidation between 24,770 and the support being right around 18,745. Since then, market ended up pushing up, going all the way up to the top of this resistance at 32,220. Rejected off, gave us a gave, a, gave us a lower wedge when it came down to this movement, or a descending wedge when it came down to that movement. Think of that like a spring. When you end up tightening the spring all the way down, if you let it go, then after that you'll see a big pop. That's exactly what we end up seeing based off of this movement. Market end up floating and going down to the downside for a certain amount of days, and after that made a big pop up to the upside. Since then, it has been in consolidation, retesting that 31,380 position before being able to see this market kind of pops right back up. So we have a defined consolidation that's actually has started forming itself. There goes our first and second time right there to the upside. There's plenty of times when it hit to the upside, to the downside. We have two main ones right now at this particular point that we know that may end up affecting what's happening with the market a little bit later on. So we have that. Market's already at the halfway point in a no trade zone. Because it's already at the halfway point in no trade zone, I'm gonna end up waiting and sitting on my hands. But I do think that there's a move that may end up happening in the near future. Okay. With that being said, once again, I'm gonna wait one more, probably another minute, and see if y'all have any pair that y'all would like to be able to talk about. I'm gonna take myself off the screen though, real quick. But is there a pair that y'all would like to be able to talk about before I get out of here? Let's see. Okay. All right. If you don't have anybody, when it comes down to that, I appreciate everyone being here to pop in. Let's talk about what's happening on Thursday. Let's talk about what's happening on Friday. Thursday, simple rule. No, if you're going to end up taking a trade, you want to get in and get out. This is a Thursday is a fast day. Go ahead and get your profits, celebrate your wins, get out of Dodge, and kind of move forward. Friday is very slow at the beginning of the day, and then after that, it picks back up at the end. Please remember with non-farm payroll, or even with anything else you're carrying around, um, if you're carrying around trades before the news actually is going out, get out of them. Wait 15 minutes until the news actually ends up coming out to be able to evaluate and make a decision on if you want to get in or get out when it comes down to that. If you like what I end up talking about, or if I end up providing any value for you, make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. I see each and every one of y'all in the next video going into next week. And then after that, we'll move forward from there. Everybody, take it easy.